Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show 933, Gary's here, and we've got lots to fit into the show. We've got EV news, we've got music tech news, and of course we've got the Windows Inside news, got lots of builds to talk about as well. So there's a lot packed show for you tonight, so let's get straight to Gary. Gary, good evening.
Good evening. I've slightly made
coming to us from a telephone line.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. I was having some definite Teams issues tonight, but yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah, definitely. Teams issues. Everybody loves those. In fact, I was on a call with someone the other day. Yeah, everybody says Teams issues, but yeah, most of the time it works. But it's constant stuff, isn't it? That was always rich.
Yeah.
I think that's the issue you get.
We seem to have had a fair few Teams issues over the last week or so. There's been a couple of fairly major outages, hasn't there? So yeah, I think
that's what it comes.
Having the best of times with Teams.
So we will do a bit of an update show tonight. We've got some feedback from last week's show. We've got new builds from Beta, Dev, and Canary, and I've got a ModWave update, and I think you've got an EV update as well. So I wanted to start off with a point from Rebel Magpie 4, from Rebel Magpie, and regarding Eero. Last week we were talking about the Eero Wi-Fi, and I really like it, but I wish there was a browser version because I can't run it on my PC. And he suggested that we run the WSA, the Android version, using Windows Subsystem for Android, which is a brilliant. I completely forgot about that, but a brilliant idea because that should work perfectly.
Yeah, it should do. Excellent idea.
Yeah, so thanks to that for Rebel Magpie. We're definitely going to do that. I've already got it installed, the subsystem PK, and install that. I have to say that the Wi-Fi has been good enough that you don't really need to use the app, which is a good sign, really, isn't it? You just leave it. The only time I go on it is to check for things. I did set it up so that I get notifications when new devices attach, which is quite good as well. So you can see whose they are and that kind of thing. So overall, been pretty pleased with that. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for that suggestion because that's been great. I just want to bridge. I have got a new phone. I've finally left my Duo. The earpiece stopped working on my phone on the Duo, so I could only use it with hands free. So which is okay when you're on your own, but you're out and about and someone calls you in the middle of Marks and Spencer's in hands free. It's not the best thing. So I thought it was about time I got one. So I did get the new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, which is a really nice phone. It's very metal and solid, which feels really nice. So yeah, I've been pleased with that so far. Of course, I've Microsofted it. So I'm using Edge for the browsing. I'm using Outlook for email, and I've obviously got OneNote and things. It's got the pen in there as well. So I'm a OneNote user, so this works pretty well with OneNote as well. So I've been pleased with it so far. It's a very nice, solid phone, and I need to get a case for it because it feels a bit vulnerable with those cameras at the back. And I've done a lot with the cameras yet. I need to get out and about and take some pictures because it's got all the AI stuff on it. But I'm not sure what Samsung's AI actually means, but I think it's around the camera type stuff. So I think I need to go and investigate that.
Probably do. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff around.
Yeah, there's you can move. I have tried it. There is the stuff like you can do in many of the the image programs now. So you take a picture and there's an artifact, something on a shelf or something you don't want, so you can take it off really, and it does all that kind of thing. So it looks quite interesting, but it's a very nice phone, very fast, lovely smooth display. I've got it the font size just perfect for me. I can read it without glasses, so it's very nice. So I'm still using my Duo as a small tablet, but taking calls on it was a bit of an issue. So I don't take a lot of phone calls, but when you do, it's not ideal. So I've been pleased with that. It's a shame that I couldn't just got the Duo 3 or whatever, but that ship has sailed now, hasn't it? We're not going to get those. But like I said, Eero, I've got that set up on there, and that was quite good as well. So yeah, I did do the Samsung transfer, or I think it's using the Android or the Google transfer program it transferred the account. So because my other phone wasn't a Samsung, it didn't do everything, but it did more or less install all the apps. I just had to sign back into them and redo the desktop, but the shortcuts and everything. But apart from that, it did copy most things over. Of course, I use I use Microsoft Authenticator, which is backed up, which I think if you're using Authenticator, you've got to have one that's backed up nowadays. Otherwise, you could be in real trouble, really.
Indeed. I always wondered that actually. What if someone steals your phone or whatever? How you recover from that situation?
Yeah, the Microsoft. I'm not sure about the Google one, but the Microsoft one is backed up to your Microsoft account. So if you lose your old phone, you just have to have an alternate method to get that initial sign in, and then you can pull your accounts back. But because I've got both, it was really easy just to transfer them over. Yeah, so far it's been nice, but I do need to go out and take some pictures and some other stuff as well, just to really get into the photography and see what you can do with it. So the other thing I wanted to mention is we've got we did have some new builds of Windows 11 to talk about. I don't know if you've seen these, but we had new ones across all the channels. Let me bring up the links. Here we are. So we had Dev, and we had Canary, and we had Beta as well. Actually, there was an interesting thing, particularly on the Beta side, that which we had a few minor changes like the snap layout changes, but actually what is in there is you can now leave the Insider program if you're on the Beta channel. So this allows you to remove yourself from that. It's quite clever how they're doing it now, aren't they? It's not like builds as such as it is features on and off. So if you're on the Beta channel, you take yourself out, then it just removes the features that were new on the Beta and you can carry on working. So if you've got a machine and you don't want to do any more testing on it, you can stop getting preview builds. If there's some things like the snap layout changes that they're previewing, it will remove those changes and you'll just carry on using it. So I think that's the first time that they've done that with Beta, which makes sense because it's still the same major build, isn't it? It's just turning features on and off. But so yeah, you can do that. So that means release preview and Beta, I think, will be that you can go back to normal. You can't do it on Dev because it's a higher build, and you can't do it on Canary either. But I don't think that'll ever be the case, really, apart from when they're ready to ship the main build. Then perhaps Dev might get it, but certainly not Canary. But anyway, so that's on there. So if you're on the Beta, you've now got an easy way of getting out from there as well. And also you've got like these changes with the snap layouts as well. So that was quite good. On the Dev channel, there was really only very minor changes. I didn't do a video of this because there was nothing to show, but just some fixes. And that was 23620. And on the Canary channel, there is the instant photo access, which we talked about last week, which was on the Dev channel. So it's funny, isn't it, how the Canary channel is the bleeding edge, but the Dev channel got the feature first, then the Canary channel gets it.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, it's good to see that because it's been a right pain to leave bits to remove a laptop from the program before now, especially when you're on the Beta channel.
Yeah, and I said these photo links and things like that was in Dev, is now going across into Canary. So that is a really nice feature. I'll be glad to see that one coming. That'll probably in 24H2 possibly, which comes later this year, which may be the big update. Who knows? We still don't know what Microsoft's plans are for Windows this year, but we shall see. So there was plenty of updates with the builds, nothing major, but worth testing. Now, I wanted to change track. We talked EV stuff. You had a video that you released this week.
Yes, so I put a link in the chat for you. But I talked about the Kia EV9. I did my review of it, and I posted it up over the weekend. It's entitled "The Beeps," because I mentioned this point about the new EU regulations, or the regulations that come in about the speed limit awareness settings, which are now on any new model, and Kia and Hyundai's interpretation of this, and I suspect this is going to be for a lot of other vehicles as well, is that any time a speed limit changes, it sends a massive beep out to warn you that the speed limit's changed, and then it also sends beep if you stray over the speed limit by even a fraction of a mile an hour. It beeps at you continuously. But it beeps and bongs for everything. It's just there's so many beeps and bongs on this thing. It's just ridiculous. And the crazy thing is, I've actually looked into that EU regulation, and it doesn't say you need to beep. In fact, it actually says that beeps may be distracting to the driver, and you can use visual indicators or vibration to notify them. So, yeah, I think they've misinterpreted the regs, or they've tried to do a more worldwide approach to the regulations, but. Yeah, it'd be nice if it could be turned off, but as you see if you watch this video, it's incredibly difficult to turn off. You can't turn it off permanently anyway. But even when you do some of the settings you think might help, it doesn't help. So, but other than that, great car. I mean, it really massive family car. Kind of Range Rover size, but of course, being an EV, it's less destructive than the Range Rover is in lots of ways.
Yeah.
But if you're in the market for a 6 or 7 seater, there's not many EVs out there. Certainly not many with a reasonable luggage space, which this obviously had, because I could get the buggy in the back, as you can see just about in the video. And yeah, it worked really well for that. It's just the beeps and bongs that drove me absolutely crazy through the drive, and you'd have to remember to turn them off every single time. But it's a nice car. It's got lots of room in it. Drives exceptionally well for a big car. It doesn't feel like a big car. Very smooth, which is the usual EV trait, and a reasonable range on it as well. So lots going for it. Just unfortunately, the bongs and the beeps drove me absolutely mad potty.
Oh, that's great. I'll include a link for that in the show. See, it does look a nice. So it's a bit bigger than the EV6, is it, that you've got?
Yeah, I mean it's actually the same width, which is weird because it doesn't look the same width. It looks a lot wider, but it is longer by 30 odd centimeters. So it's different entertainment system. They've improved that a lot. There were some really nice features on that. I thought that worked really well. Very fluid and flexible and integrated. And for once, with the update that's just coming out, it'll have wireless Android Auto and wireless CarPlay, which is nice because my car doesn't have that unless you have some sort of plug-in for it. But yeah, some definitely nice features on it. Quite weird that it has the gear stick on the steering wheel. That's nice. I mean, that used to be quite an old thing with automatics in the old days.
You did, on the stick shift thing, isn't it? But it's not stick shift. Yeah.
No, it does. It's a twist knob as well. But it's interesting. It's also got the power on and off button actually on that control as well, which took a little bit getting used to. But as I say, it drives really well. It doesn't feel like a big car when you're driving it, which is odd, to be honest, because it is a very big car.
Yeah, it looks nice. So I'll include the video and to your video review on that. I do like.
It's very bad one man and a camera video, and I didn't have an awful lot of time with the car to do the review, so I couldn't get set up as nice as I'd like to. But at least I managed to get the audio working this time, so that's good. People will be able to hear what I say.
Yeah.
But mind you, they would anyway.
That's brilliant.
A quiet car. That's the one thing I really noticed about it. It's incredibly quiet inside.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. That's one thing I noticed. I've changed mine. So I've on the BMW, the Android Auto didn't work with the Duo, but it does with the new Samsung. And actually, I've not used Android Auto for a while, and the updated Android Auto is pretty good now. It's pretty intuitive now. The apps are quite good. Some of the things are a bit strange design choices, not so much on Android, but say on Spotify. If you wanted to look for, say you wanted a Pink Floyd album, so you go to artists and you choose Pink Floyd, it'll show you some albums, but it won't show you the complete list, so you can't scroll down through them. So maybe there's something I'm missing on the UI, but yeah, it was just a bit frustrating. You sort of see the last 4 albums and then there's no more choice option, which which is a bit strange. So some of the things aren't so good, but I've been using Audible for a bit and recently, and there's an app for that as well. So so it's quite nice for that side of it. But the iDrive with the BMW actually is pretty improved pretty well as well. So you've actually got both the choice of both systems. At one stage, I would have said Android Auto looks a lot better than just using the iDrive, but actually the iDrive is pretty sophisticated now. So I suppose it's the same with the Kia. The built-in systems are actually pretty sophisticated now. Whether the Android ones are actually easy to Android Auto and the Apple CarPlay, they're obviously easier for the systems to be upgraded because it's just part of the phone and OS updates. So perhaps they get more advanced. I don't know what you think. Whether is Android Auto and CarPlay the best way, or is the OEM's own software better than using these options?
I think most of the OEM software has been pretty appalling up to now. So I mean, I know a lot of people who won't buy a car unless it's got Android Auto and or CarPlay in it, and in fact, a lot of people know won't buy one unless it's got wireless Android Auto.
Yes, of course, that is really nice. That mine's got. I don't even, you can leave your phone in your pocket. You don't need to take it out of your pocket because it's the Android Auto. It's got everything you need on it.
And I assume you've got the latest Android Auto now with that phone. So you've got the new Google Assistant stroke Bard interface, which is a little bit nicer than the way it used to work. It takes a little bit getting used to. The one thing I have noticed is that notifications are not as obvious to spot because you get a little tiny dot up in the top right corner to say you've actually got a new notification and new message, which is a bit hidden compared to what it was like before, but that's quite nice. But the nice thing is the assistant doesn't get in the way so much. It also gives you shortcut replies, which it learns the sort of things you reply, so it'll actually eventually talk to certain people. It will give you pop-up shortcut replies. It's quite nice new features on that. I was using that quite a bit today.
I did think the sound quality from when I was using the Duo to using the Samsung has been improved. I don't know whether that's just just because you think it sounds, it's not actual true, but yeah, it does seem to be. It sounded clearer. So whether the Bluetooth profiles are slightly better in the later versions of Android and the Samsungs, I don't know, but it did seem to me like the audio quality was a bit better.
Yeah. Well, actually, with the compression thing, some of that can be down to processing power that you can actually do the compression better. But yeah, it's.
Yeah, I just felt, and of course the sound system in the new car is so good as well that I was listening to it. I think I've tracks that I've listened to hundreds of times, thousands of times. I don't remember hearing that before, but yeah. So yeah, it's quite
that's
good.
Something I noticed certainly when I first moved to EVs, that the virtually any sound system sounds really good in an EV because the background noise is just not there.
Yeah,
you get some really good stuff. But I have to say the EV9 sound system was exceptionally good. Yeah, almost worth buying the car just for that. It was really nice.
Oh, well, the engine noise in mine, because I got a 128 Ti. So you put your foot down in that. There is considerable engine noise on that. It's very throaty. So that's why it's got the Harman Kardon speakers in there. So you need that if you're pushing it. But if you're driving it just normally, it's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
I did go out for a drive at the weekend on some sort of nice quiet country lanes, and it was a lot of fun. But it's the same thing with EVs, and you've got the torque in there that really makes a difference. So you don't have to go flying around, but you just got the torque when you put your foot down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, so the Android Auto, I was quite impressed with that. So yeah, I suppose it makes sense that it's just an easier way of updating because in-car systems date quite quickly, don't they? Because they're in the if you've got a 3-4 year old car or whatever, it's a long time, isn't it? Whereas if you're using Android Auto or CarPlay, they're constantly updating that. And I know they do updates to the car system as well, but they don't seem to update those as frequently as say Google or Apple would do.
Yeah, indeed. I was just thinking about you, Harman Kardon. Though. I just wonder whether BMW drivers would think it was so impressive if they called it Samsung audio, because Harman Kardon being part of Samsung these days.
Yes, I wonder that. Yeah.
Getting a lot of compliments. I mean,
Yeah, actually,
they're tuned a lot better, but
yeah. Yeah, actually, I probably, if it said Samsung, I would have been quite impressed with that as well. But yeah, I think it was. It's interesting, isn't it? How these audio brands. It's like any area, though, isn't it? The specialist brands are actually quite often just owned by one of the larger corporations. And I think what was this? They used to do them on laptop speakers. I can't remember which company it was then. It was the one that was bought? Oh, Beats, wasn't it? Beats Audio, because that they used to apply that to a lot of laptops. You don't see that so much, but it was HP used to do that a lot, didn't they?
yeah, they did.
Yeah. So but these speakers are fantastic in the car. So yeah, it was really impressive. So really nice, and it's not so much the volume, it's the quality, because it's surround sound and it's got a nice sharp quality to it. So when I do my own music now, I mix it down to a WAV file, stick it on my phone, and then have a listen to it in the car before I make any further changes, because it's a nice way of listening back to your stuff other than just the headphones that I normally use for mixing. So yeah, then I make some notes, think how I'll make some changes to that. So it's been quite good for that. Is there anything else before we move on? Is there any other EV news you want to talk about?
Nothing specific other than that there's the EV charge. I can't remember the name of it. The organisational body for the EV charge point operators was saying that they've put an awful lot of charges in this year, so at least trebling of charges over a year, which sounds. I'm not quite sure where they've all gone, but I know there are again. So do seem to be a lot of charges being built. I mean, we've got the footing's being dug for quite a few charging bank places in Peterborough at the moment. So 3 or 4 different charge manufacturers, charge point operators that we haven't had before coming in. So yeah, it's including the raw charging people we spoke to on the show not so long ago.
Yeah.
As well, so that'd be good to see. Maybe get back on to talk about that at some point. But yeah, it does seem to be a big expansion on that. I mean, there was an interesting request from Octopus Energy the other day, not specifically for EVs, but generally interesting, in that they wanted to be able to put their own grid network in, because they were getting really frustrated about bringing solar panels and things online, because the national grid is really slow at putting infrastructure in at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if that comes off, that might actually lead to some faster scaling of EV stuff, because as we've talked about before, that's one of the big problems in the EV world is actually getting power to chargers. You can put chargers in, but getting power to them is more challenging, and would also definitely help with the services if they could get some actual power to them rather than wait for years to get real power upgrades. So that's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's all about the infrastructure, isn't it? And it's the infrastructure keeping up with demand, and then I guess the infrastructure keeping up with technology as well as that's constantly evolving as well.
Yes. Yeah, and technology is definitely evolving. New batteries in it all the time. So, as we talked about the other week, I really think within a couple of years we'll see 600-700 mile cars being the norm for the high end of cars, and then for low end cars and much smaller batteries going much further. Which does mean then lead you to the idea of whether your investment in these charge point operations is actually a long-term investment, because I suspect there'll be a lot of chargers not used in 10-15 years time. So
that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I think I was probably thinking as I've got the car, is probably the last petrol car I'll get in another 3 or 4 years. The market's going to be pretty different again.
Yes, yeah. I think we'll definitely see that. I mean, it's interesting that Volkswagen went down this line of having the ID series, and they're now talking they might start retiring some of the ID ones because their standard models have become electrified. So the next Golf will be an electrified Golf, and they won't necessarily have specific EV models.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, they're just they just become the models.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people. There's actually a school of thought that we should stop calling them EVs and just call them cars. Because it puts that dividing. Whereas, yeah, it's an interesting one. But yeah, I keep looking at the second-hand EV market at the moment because there's been a sort of real collapse in the EV market, partly because of the publicity of some of the stuff which has been out there. As we know, a lot of it false. But that's actually made some very attractive deals for some of the ex-company cars. And I did say this on the show about 3 years ago, that once the company cars churn started coming around, so when we get to the 2-year life and 3-year life of EVs which have been out there, with some of the more decent EVs that came out 2 or 3 years ago, the market would start to change in that, and the second-hand market would get a lot more usable for people who can't afford the brand new car at a really high rate. And there's some incredible deals out there now on some cars you'd think of as being really expensive. I mean, the Jaguar I-Pace I had, which is, I mean, I never paid this, but that was a 70-80k car. You can pick them up for sub 20k now, sort of 2-3 years old. And a high mileage EV is actually going to be a good car. I mean, unlike a petrol car or a fresh salesman car, which were high mileage, you wish you'd never touch a barge pop. One of those as an EV is probably seen very little wear. And actually, if it survived that long, it's not going to have any of the sort of teething problems that most cars, most EVs had in their day with 12-volt batteries. It's kind of gone past all that stuff. So a high mileage EV is actually quite a good investment, especially one with a long battery warranty, which things like the I-Pace and that have got. So, yeah, it's
it's that warranty, isn't it? It's just I guess we're not up to the point now where they are completely out of warranty, are we? And sort of unsupported. I mean, what happens with them as they get sort of 6, 8, 10 years old? Does the retail value completely go then, or are they just one of those things, like you said, because there's not the same mechanical wear and tear, they'll just keep going?
Yeah, and batteries. I mean, there have been 1 or 2 battery failures, but it tends to be on the earlier Leafs and stuff where the battery management wasn't as good. Modern battery management is so good that battery failures are few and far between, and if they do fail, there tend to be a few cells failing rather than the whole battery, so they tend not to be a full replacement.
Yeah.
So a high mileage, I mean, 10, 15-year-old EV, well, they're out there. I mean, the 10-year-old Teslas are definitely out there with very high mileages and still being used. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that market develops over the time. But I think it is going to make a very different second-hand car market because a lot of the stuff we think about now when we buy second-hand cars doesn't apply.
Yeah, well, that's key thing is, but it makes it easier for people perhaps with the second car, or as younger people getting, like my son got a Fiesta, and maybe his next car he'll look at a second-hand electric, because a brand new one would be too much, but he wants an electric, so it kind of opens that up then.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, I'm just looking now. There's some really good cars, sort of 40, 50k cars for 10, 11k. So yeah, definitely getting better.
Yeah. Now, switching tracks completely out. As you know, I've been doing my synth stuff, the mod wave. I've done some more on that. So I have got another sound collection. And these have proved incredibly popular. In fact, this latest one I've done, which is a Korg MS-20 collection. These are some of the highest videos I've had for a while, and free downloads. So the Korg MS-20 is a 1977 synthesizer, mono synth that Korg made with patch cables and everything. It's always been incredibly popular because it's got a nice gritty sound, and in fact they made a virtual one in the early 2000s, and they actually remade the whole thing with the sort of original circuitry again in the last sort of 10 years, 5 years. So you can actually buy mini versions, full size versions, recreations, and get virtual versions of these. But in the ModWave, it's got an emulation of the filters that are in the MS-20. So I've created a sound collection for the MS-20. And in fact, did you see? I don't. Have you got your? Can you see on the video?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the nice font that I used there? The old computer 70s computer font.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that. I love that font. It takes me back. Makes me think of Space 1999 and what we thought the future would look like in the 1970s. With that looked like futuristic writing, didn't it? I think it has got some history, hasn't it? Though, isn't it to do with OCR?
Yeah, it is. It's OCR based, so it was a lot easier for computer reading at the time.
Yeah.
The blobs. I actually read the blobs rather than the actual letters, which is interesting.
Yeah. So I like that font, but I think Korg used that on the synth in the 70s to make it look futuristic. So hence that's why I've used that. But anyway, so the video's online there, so you can see all the sounds. But there's 40 patches and performances on there, which are recreations of sounds that from the original MS-20. Some of them are brand new sounds that just use the engine to create those sounds. And what I do when I do those as well is a bit of a tutorial of how I created those as well. So I've had some nice feedback from people sort of say they watch the videos and that's helping them create their own sounds as well. So yeah, so if you've got a ModWave, check those out. But yeah, a lot of people don't have downloaded that, and I've even had some donations, believe it or not. So there is a donate button on the download page. I set this up ages ago and never even thought about it, but a couple of people donated, so that's very kind of them. So thanks to those. But a lot of comments. That's what's really nice as well, to get that interaction, people talking on there. So I have got another video I'm planning to work on, which is on FM synthesis on the ModWave as well. So we're going to the 80s style DX type sounds on the ModWave. So I'm going to do some of those as well. So I've really enjoyed sort of focusing on one with that synth. I really enjoyed sort of focusing on that one thing and getting the absolute maximum out of it, and using as much as I can of it. And it's quite a deep, complicated synth. So when I first got it, I always felt I was just like skimming the surface. But over the last year, I've really think I've got into it, and yeah, rather than just moving on to the next thing, actually stick with it and really make the most of the investment. So I'm quite pleased with that. And the nice thing is Korg is still releasing updates for it, and they've got new versions coming out that all this is compatible with. So again, it's not on the shelf of doom yet with all my Microsoft gear that's been made obsolete. So it's quite nice that. So I've enjoyed doing that. So I will definitely do some more of those. Yeah, it's been quite fun doing those. So I also have some new music on it soon as well. But yeah, I've got plans for another album coming soon, but not yet, but coming soon.
I'll look forward to that. That's definitely just very much on my playlist in my car. Is talk about excellent music to listen to when you're testing vehicles.
Yeah.
Thumping out in the EV9 as I drove along.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so I've enjoyed doing that. So back in the studio at the weekend to do some more of that as well. So actually, I did see that. I don't know this will be too much to you, but do you know the Behringer make the recreations of synths? There's some dubious ethics maybe because they're actually recreating these whole things, but then some things like Roland, for example, don't make new versions of their old gear. So the Roland Jupiter 8, you're talking like 15,000-20,000 for a good condition one, early 80s synth, and but Behringer have announced that they're going to make a recreation of one of those, and that'll be perhaps sub-1,000. So, but the other one they announced as well is a CR78 drum machine, which is the In the Air Tonight drum machine. And I think it was also used by Blondie and others as well. So it's quite interesting to see these companies recreating these synths. I've got the Selena string there, but for some company like Roland, who actually could make one themselves, it's their IP, they choose not to, and other people fill that gap. So some people are not, don't think it's a good idea, but then it's, I couldn't pay 20 grand for a Jupiter 8. You can get the virtual ones, but maybe it'd be nice to have a sub-1,000 one that you can actually get that's real synthesizer, and it's going to work and reliable. You're not going to have to swap out capacitors and things like that. So yeah, it's quite an interesting market with that. These recreations of classics, and especially where the original creators of them don't seem to want to bother to create them, so other people fill the gap. Again, it's not something we have it which in the computer industry. Nobody's recreating a ZX Spectrum just for people to use, but then you get these Kickstarters with the recreated Spectrums, and you get the virtual ones and the little ones as well. So there is something to it, but it's interesting that these stuff is out there. Right, well, I think that was everything we had for this week. Where can we find you? I'll include the video, but just remind us of the channel as well.
Yep. So I actually very rarely mention this on the show, but it's the EV Driver show, EV Owner. So EV Owner channel. I also do the EV Driver show on there as well. But it's the EV Owner channel on YouTube.
There you go.
And lots and lots of videos on there. So extended versions of some of the interviews we put on the channel, out on the podcast, in video as well. So, and some other bits and pieces on there as well. Some hints and tips on using various vehicles, and a few vehicle reviews as and when I get around to doing them. But yeah, keeps going. And you can also find me on all the social medias at Garry WMA.
Excellent stuff. You can find me at IS Dixon, and go to theselifestyle.com. All the links are on there, and including links for the podcast as well. We'll be back same time, same place next week. I really did like getting the feedback, so thanks for that from the YouTube comments. Please keep those coming. Just suggestions for guests, topics, anything like that, let me know, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.